Long before the pyramids were called wonders of the world, a story was already old. In African Religion, Volume 4, subtitled Resurrecting Osiris, the teacher Muata Ashby reconstructs what he calls the oldest sacred drama in recorded history, the myth of Asar, Aset, and Heru, known to the Greeks as Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Drawn from the pyramid texts, the Coffin texts, and the Book of Coming Forth by Day, it is the tale of a murdered king, a grieving goddess, and a son who reclaims a stolen throne. But Ashby argues it was never merely a story. It is a hidden map of the human soul and a manual for awakening it.
Ashby's thesis is bold. Ancient Egypt, which its own people called Kemet, the Black Land, practiced the oldest known religion on Earth, a system he names Shetaut Neter, the hidden divinity. For more than 10,000 years, its sages taught that a single supreme being expresses itself through countless gods and goddesses, the Neteru. The Asarian resurrection is its central scripture. Read on the surface, it is a myth of death and rebirth. Read mystically, Ashby insists, every character in it is a part of you, and the resurrection of Osiris is the enlightenment that must occur within every human being. This, he argues, is the true and forgotten origin of both yoga and Christianity.
First, the religion behind the myth, its name, its astonishing age, and the African land that gave it birth. Muata Ashby, a teacher who took the title Sebai, spiritual preceptor, and founded the Sema Institute of Yoga, spent decades reconstructing what he calls Shetaut Neter. The words mean the hidden or secret divinity. Shetaut is mystery, Neter is the divine. Its very symbol, a staff wrapped like a mummy, was described by an ancient priest as that which is placed in the coffin, the sustaining force hidden inside all things. Ashby dates this tradition across an astonishing span, citing temple records and the king lists of Manetho that reach back 10,000, even 36,000 years before our era. He calls its followers Neturians, and their faith the oldest religion in history, a single river of wisdom from which, he argues, the spiritual systems of India, Greece, and the Christian West would later drink.
The people we call Egyptians called themselves the Kamiu, and their country Kemet or Kemet, the Black Land, the land of the blacks. Ashby stresses that this was an African civilization with African roots. The Egyptians themselves recorded that they had originally been a colony of Ethiopians who migrated north, following the Nile down from its sources. One ancient text places their origin at the base of the Mountain of the Moon, at the origin of the Nile River. The Greek historian Diodorus reported the same. The Ethiopians were the first of all men, and the Egyptians a colony led out of Ethiopia by Osiris himself. Ashby notes that the kingdoms of Nubia and Ethiopia stood at least 3 centuries before Egypt's first pharaoh. The Nile was the great highway, and wisdom flowed down it from the African interior to the sea.
At the heart of Shetaut Neter lies what Ashby calls monotheistic polytheism. There is one supreme being, Neberjer, the all-encompassing divinity, and from that one emanate the many gods and goddesses, the Neteru, like rays streaming from a single sun. This is the first of 4 great truths the Neturians lived by. The second warns that a lack of ma'at, of righteousness, brings fetters to the personality, the afflictions of Set, anger, greed, hatred, lust, and envy, and these fetters lead to ignorance of the divine. The third promises that sincere devotion to the divine dissolves those fetters. And the fourth teaches that the practice of the Sheti disciplines, deep spiritual study and meditation, leads to knowing oneself and the divine, a state the Egyptians called being true of speech, Heru, the one who has become one with the source. Ashby maps the great theologies of Egypt as branches of a single tree. The Anunian tradition of the city Anu, Heliopolis, worshipped Ra, who rose from the primeval waters. The Memphite tradition honored Ptah, who created the universe by the power of thought. The Theban tradition exalted the hidden god Amun. The goddess tradition revered the divine feminine as Aset, Net, and Heru. The Aton tradition of the sage king Akhenaton adored the sun disk, and the Asarian tradition, the subject of this book, taught the resurrection of the soul through Asar, Aset, and Heru. All of it, Ashby argues, is Egyptian yoga. The word yoga means to yoke, to link back to the source, which is the very meaning of the word religion. Egypt practiced it, he claims, thousands of years before India ever gave it a name. Now the myth itself begins, at the beginning of all things, in the still waters before creation.
Before there was any god, before Ra or Asar or Aset, before there was even matter, Ashby tells us there was only Nu, the boundless primeval ocean. Out of those still waters the Creator arose, self-begotten, in the form of Khepera, the rising sun, boat of millions of years, standing upon the pedestal of Ma'at, his daughter, the foundation of all order. Each night the serpent Epep, entropy itself, rises to swallow the boat, and each dawn is a fresh victory of creation over chaos. Ra had decreed that the sky goddess Nut could give birth in no month of the year, but Jehuti, Thoth, the divine intellect and keeper of the moon, won at a game of drafts a 70th part of each day's light, and from the winnings fashioned 5 new days, added to the calendar's 360, the epigomenal days, the days outside time. On the first, Asar was born, and a voice cried out that the Lord of all had come into the world. On the second came Heru the elder. On the third, Set, who tore his way violently through his mother's side. On the fourth, the goddess Aset, and on the fifth, Nebteth. So the great family was complete, Asar and Aset, who loved one another even in the womb, and Set, born on the unluckiest of days, who would one day destroy his brother. Asar became the first king of Egypt, and Ashby presents his reign as a golden age. He found his people living, in the old phrase, an indigent and barbarous life, given even to cannibalism, and he turned them from it. With his sister wife Aset, who discovered barley and wheat, he taught agriculture, gave laws, instituted the worship of the Neteru, and established Ma'at, truth and justice, across the land. Then he set out to civilize the whole world, Ashby writes, not by force of arms, but by gentle persuasion, by reasoned argument set to hymns and music. He journeyed through Ethiopia and Arabia to India, where he was said to found cities, and back again through Europe. Wherever he went, he left behind not conquest, but cultivation, law, and song, the very image of the divine soul descending to bless the world. While Asar wandered the world, Aset ruled Egypt as a vigilant and brilliant queen, and Ashby lingers on her power. She was mistress of the mystic arts, and in the famous tale of Ra and Aset, she contrived to learn the secret hidden name of Ra himself, the word of power at the very root of creation, and by knowing it, she became as great as the Creator. She is, Ashby says, the true heroine of the entire epic. It is her wisdom and her love, not brute strength, that will raise both her husband and her son from death. But the golden reign held a shadow. Asar's brother Set, watching the king honored across the earth, filled with jealousy and greed. He wanted the throne and the worship of Egypt for himself. The seed of the murder was already planted.
What follows is the heart of the tragedy, a betrayal at a banquet, and a goddess who would not let death be final.
Set's plot, as Ashby tells it, was patient and cunning. Secretly, he measured the exact dimensions of Asar's body and had a chest belt, beautiful and richly decorated, fitted to those measurements alone. He gathered 72 conspirators. Then, at a grand banquet, he had the chest carried in and promised, as if in jest, to give it to whoever could lie down and fit it perfectly. One by one, the guests tried. The chest fit none of them. At last, Asar himself, suspecting nothing, lay down inside. In that instant, the conspirators rushed forward, slammed the lid, nailed it shut, and poured molten lead over the seams. They carried the sealed coffer to the Nile and cast it in, and the current bore the murdered king away to the sea. The first king of Egypt was dead.
Aset, hearing of the murder, cut off a lock of her hair, put on robes of mourning, and began to wander, questioning everyone she met, even children, for word of the chest. Meanwhile, the coffer floated across the sea to Byblos on the Phoenician coast and came to rest in a tamarisk bush. The bush grew swiftly into a magnificent tree that enclosed the chest entirely within its trunk. The king of Byblos, admiring the tree, had it cut down and made into a great pillar to support the roof of his palace, never knowing that a dead god lay hidden inside. This pillar, Ashby explains, is the origin of the sacred Jed column of Osiris, the emblem of stability and steadfastness, which would become one of the holiest symbols in all of Egypt.
Guided by divine spirits, Aset came at last to Byblos. She sat humbly by a fountain, won the friendship of the queen's naids by braiding their hair and gifting them a wondrous fragrance from her own body, and was made nurse to the queen's infant son. By day, she nursed the child. By night, Ashby recounts, she placed him in the fire to burn away his mortal nature and grant him immortality, while she herself, transformed into a swallow, circled the great pillar, mourning. But the queen, seeing her baby in the flames, cried out in terror and broke the spell. Aset revealed herself, asked for the pillar, and cut the chest free. She wrapped the fragrant wood in linen, gave it to the people of Byblos to revere, and carried her husband's body home toward Egypt.
Aset hid the recovered body in the marshes of the delta and went to see her son. But Set, hunting by the light of the moon, came upon the chest by chance. Recognizing the body of his brother, he flew into a rage and tore Asar into 14 pieces, scattering them across the whole of Egypt so that they could never be gathered again. Aset would not be defeated. With her sister Nebthet and the jackal god Anpu, she set out in a papyrus boat to search the land, recovering the pieces one by one and raising a shrine wherever a part was found. She reassembled, remembered, the body of her husband. Only one piece was never recovered, the phallus, which had fallen into the Nile and been eaten by a fish, a detail Ashby will later reveal, charged with hidden meaning.
How does a goddess conceive a child from a dead and incomplete husband? By words of power and by love. Ashby describes Aset, with the help of Jehuti and the hidden god Amun, fashioning what was missing and breathing life back into Asar just long enough to conceive. In the temple reliefs, she becomes a hawk, hovering over his body, drawing his divine seed into herself. I played the part of a man, her hymn declares, although I am a woman, to let your name live on earth. She conceived a son, Heru, and to protect him from his murderous uncle, she fled into the papyrus thickets of the delta to the hidden place called Kemet.
There, alone and unseen, she raised the child who would one day avenge his father and reclaim the throne, the new life sprung from death itself. The sun grows, the conflict passes to a new generation, and the cosmos itself is forced to choose a side.
Heru's childhood, in Ashby's telling, was a gauntlet of danger. Aset hid in the marshes, guarded by 7 scorpions. One day, while she performed a rite for Asar, a scorpion sent by Set stung the child Heru, and Aset returned to find him lifeless, foam at his mouth. Her cry of grief rose all the way to heaven, and the cosmos answered. The goddess Serket warned that creation itself could not continue while the air lay dead, and so the boat of millions of years halted in the sky. The sun stood still. Time stopped. Ra sent down Jehuti, master of the divine word, who pronounced the great healing utterance, drew the poison out, and restored the child to life. Only then did the sun resume its journey. Wisdom, Ashby notes, had raised the soul from death, a rehearsal for the resurrection to come. When Heru came of age, Asar, speaking from the realm of the dead, urged him to take up arms and claim his throne. But the struggle was fought as much in court as in combat. Heru summoned the council of the Neteru to judge his case against Set. The god Shu ruled at once that the throne belonged to Heru. Jehuti agreed. Yet Ra-Atum favored Set, the strong one who defends the sunboat against the chaos serpent. And so the trial dragged on, Ashby writes, for 80 years. The divine mother Neith was consulted, and she too ruled for Heru. Aset herself, barred from the court by Set, disguised herself as an old woman, slipped past the ferryman, and tricked Set into condemning himself out of his own mouth. Again and again, justice leaned toward the sun, and again Set refused to yield. Between the hearings came open war, and Ashby does not soften it. Heru and Set transformed into hippopotami and fought beneath the water. Aset, hurling her harpoon, struck her own son by mistake, then struck Set, who cried out, "Aset, I am your brother," and out of pity she let him go. In a fury at his mother's mercy, Heru cut off her head. Jehuti replaced it with the head of a cow. Set, finding Heru asleep, gouged out his nephew's eyes and buried them in the mountain, where they grew into lotus flowers. There were contests of seed and deception, a race in boats of stone, wound traded for wound. The myth refuses to make the conflict clean because, Ashby argues, the war between Heru and Set is the war inside every human being, and it is never won cheaply. The turning point is the healing of the eye. Jehuti, and in some tellings the goddess Heru with gazelle's milk, found the blinded Heru and restored his stolen sight, making whole the famous Ujet, the eye of Horus. Ashby reads its very parts, the fractions that sum almost but not quite to one, as a symbol of wholeness regained, the final missing fraction supplied by divine magic. At the last tribunal, the council wrote to Asar in the beautiful West, and his reply, reminding even the gods that all must one day come to the land of the dead, settled the matter. Set was brought in chains. Heru was crowned king of a united Egypt. Set himself was not destroyed but reconciled, set in the sky as Lord of Storms to defend the boat of Ra. And Asar became the eternal king and judge of the Duat.
Here, Ashby turns the key. Every figure in the story, he says, is a part of you, and the myth is a manual for awakening.
A myth, Ashby insists, should never be read literally. That would be like watching a film and mistaking it for real life. There are 2 levels: the exoteric, the outer story of gods and battles, and the esoteric, the hidden teaching within. The first key to unlocking it is startling in its simplicity. The myth is speaking about you. It is the story of your own life, its origin, its plight,
and the path to its fulfillment. The second key is that it is a journey, a movement from ignorance and darkness toward light and wisdom, toward what the Egyptians called enlightenment, the dilation of the heart. And the third key is to live the myth, to make its essence part of your daily life, until you yourself become the triumphant hero. Asar, in this reading, is your own soul.
What then is Osiris? Ashby gives his central image. Asar symbolizes the fragmented ocean of consciousness, which has been cut into pieces by the lower self. The soul is, in truth, a boundless ocean of awareness, the very self of every living being. But falling in love with physical existence, it forgets its vastness and imagines itself to be a single wave. It is Set, egoism, the brute force of our impulses and desires, that dismembers our higher consciousness, scattering it into multiplicity, selfishness, and fear. And it is Aset, divine wisdom and love, who patiently gathers the scattered pieces and remembers them into wholeness. The murder, the dismemberment, the search, and the resurrection are not ancient history. They are happening, Ashby says, inside you right now. The whole drama, he insists, is the secret autobiography of your own consciousness, written in the language of gods. The Jed pillar, Osiris's backbone raised upright with its 4 crossbars, is for Ashby no mere ornament. It is the human spine, and its rings are the upper energy centers, the chakras, the levels of awakened consciousness. Here, the Egyptian teaching meets what India calls Kundalini, the serpent power coiled at the base of the spine. The 2 royal cobras, the goddesses Aset and Nebthet, are its twin poles, the solar and lunar currents, like Ida and Pingala, and when they rise and unite at the crown, the result is enlightenment itself. Even the one piece Aset never recovered, the phallus eaten by the fish, now reveals its meaning, the conservation and sublimation of sexual energy, redirected upward into spiritual power. To raise the Jed is to awaken the soul, standing firm in the knowledge of the self.
When Osiris becomes king of the Duat, the realm of the dead, Ashby insists we read it inwardly. The masses imagined a literal underworld beneath the earth. The initiates knew better. The Duat is the unconscious mind, and at its deepest, it is the very mind of God, cosmic consciousness itself. Its 7 halls, the arets, are the 7 levels of spiritual awakening, guarded by gatekeepers who admit only those who possess the words of wisdom. At its uttermost depth lies absolute stillness. No growth, no birth, no death, no time. The abode of Asar, Lord of the perfect black, a darkness Ashby compares to the Buddhist void. The jackal Anpu, discernment itself, is the opener of the ways who leads the soul through. And resurrection, properly understood, is simply this: the restoration of spiritual vision, the soul remembering that it was always divine.
Ashby lays the characters out as a ladder of human evolution. At the bottom is Set, the soul enslaved to the lower self, to ego and appetite. Above him is Anpu, the awakening of discrimination and discipline, the power to tell the real from the unreal. Higher still is Heru with Heru, righteous action, devotion and energy directed toward the divine. Then Men, mastery and the sublimation of desire, the moment of victory. And at the summit, Asar and Aset, the pure self united with its own wisdom. Crucially, Ashby says, Set is not a devil and is never simply destroyed. He is the untrained ego, a part of Heru himself, who must be conquered and then sublimated, set to useful service rather than mastery. The enemy, Ashby writes, is inside each of us. To unite Heru and Set within is to fulfill the command, know thyself.
Finally, Ashby traces the myth's long shadow into the Gospels, the Eucharist, and the living practice of awakening.
Ashby argues that early Christianity did not merely resemble the Osirian religion, it grew out of it in Egypt itself. Gnostic Christians lived in Alexandria, and the 52 texts discovered at Nag Hammadi in 1945, he says, show a faith taking shape on Egyptian soil before it spread to Greece and Rome. The parallels are precise. Aset, the Divine Mother who conceives a son without an ordinary father and raises him in hiding from a murderous king, is the prototype of Mary. Heru, the Savior who restores his father's kingdom, prefigures Christ. The birth of Heru was celebrated at the winter solstice, and the date of Christmas, Ashby notes, was fixed at December 25th, long after Jesus. Even the 3 stars of Orion pointing to Sirius, the herald of Aset and the new year, echo in the 3 kings who follow a star. The communion meal, Ashby contends, is far older than Christianity. In the pyramid texts, which he dates deep into Egypt's past, the initiate offers and consumes bread and wine as the very body of the resurrected Osiris, grain being his flesh risen from the buried seed. He cites the early Christian writer Hippolytus, who recorded that the secret rite of certain initiates was the same as the saying attributed to Jesus, "Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven." The supreme offering of all in the Egyptian rite was the eye of Heru, intuitional vision, the memory of one's true self, wrested back from Set. Every meal, Ashby concludes, is in truth a communion with the divine, for the whole world is the body of God. At the climax of the funerary rites came the ceremony called the opening of the mouth. The mummy, bound in its bandages, represents the soul asleep, and the crucial bandage, Ashby explains, is the one across the mouth, the fetter of Set. The mouth is the seat of memory and awareness, and while it is bound, the soul cannot remember its true divine nature. It knows only its mortal, limited existence. So the priest, acting as Jehuti filled with words of power, unties the fetters of Set and opens the mouth, restoring memory of the self. This, says Ashby, is Nehast, resurrection, the spiritual awakening. The initiate was addressed not by an ordinary name, but as the Osiris, so that the scribe Ani became Osiris Ani. Every man and woman, in awakening, became the god, discovering Asar as the innermost reality of their own being. The teaching is useless, Ashby warns, unless it is lived, and so he offers practices. Take the name Asar as part of your own, to bind yourself to the divine self. Watch the moon. Its waning is the dismemberment of Osiris by Set, the new moon his resurrection, the full moon the radiant light of Heru, a monthly reckoning of your own struggles and renewals. Read a portion of the myth each day. Above all, live by Ma'at, truth, order, justice, balance, and selflessness, until your life itself becomes virtuous and the heart is purified enough for meditation. He even supplies a guided journey to the Duat, a meditation that carries the soul past the stars into the deepest darkness, where the only barrier left is the ego, and where one finally dares to say, and to mean it, I am Asar. And so the oldest story circles home. The murdered god is the soul fallen into forgetfulness. The grieving goddess is the wisdom that seeks it. The avenging sun is the will that wins it back. And the resurrection is the awakening that Ashby calls the birthright of every human being. The Asarian resurrection, he argues, is the hidden source beneath the religions of the world, the Egyptian original of yoga and of the Christ.
To resurrect Osiris is not to revive a corpse on a riverbank thousands of years ago. It is to gather the scattered pieces of your own consciousness, to raise the jed of the spine, and to remember that you were always the boundless ocean, never merely the wave. May you, in the words the Egyptians left us, discover supreme peace in this very life. Hetep.